Suppose you are looking at the list of modern cities in the world. You will find Singapore as one of them. A city advances by urbanizing the rural areas. But with modern technologies coming into our everyday life, it makes everything easy for us. Is it safe, though? Because of urbanization in cities, the population and technology we use increase daily. This heavily affects the climate of the town we live in as a result of this effect. Singapore uses science to solve its heat problems. Cities around the world are going through a struggle because of climate change. The intense heat and warming conditions make life hard to live. Singapore is one of the cities which is heavily affected by climate change. So, as a result of this, the city uses science to understand the causes of heavy heat. To solve the warming problem, the city used the thermal map to scan the temperature of the urbanized regions of the city and compared it with the rural areas with no buildings to replace nature. With the help of this comparison, they concluded that the temperature is lower where the plants are on the map. What this means is that the plants absorb less sunlight in that area. Asphalt, concrete, and even wooden canopy roofs in the city receive more heat from the sun. When an area's temperature differs more than its surrounding temperature, the temperature map makes it look like an isolated island. The heat island effect is responsible for the high temperature in most cities. City roads, buildings, and other infrastructure absorb radiation more than natural environmental elements. There are no trees in the surrounding area to absorb the heat released back into the environment. As a result, the temperature in that city remains a few degrees higher than in the surrounding area. Since the 1950s, Singapore has urbanized rapidly, with 100% of the population now defined as urban. Because of the various benefits of living in the urban city, more people are coming into one place. After some time, the place suffers due to overpopulation, and it is accommodating more than it should. The people are looking for a betterment of life shift from various places of the country to one particular city. But the effects of climate change affect the city and the people's health. In the light of this information, the government came up with the idea to start research on urban thermal island mitigation strategies to overcome this thermal problem in Singapore. So they came up with the plan to support a project called Cooling Singapore. The project merges their acquired knowledge into a digital tool that can help many other cities. Because of intense sunshine near the equator, water from Singapore's surrounding seas evaporates rapidly. The moisture-laden air is carried to Singapore in the afternoon and evening by sea breezes, making the city humid. Singapore is keen on solving this problem of climate change. Due to its location close to the equator, the temperature in Singapore regularly rises above 32 degrees Celsius during the day. With this geographical factor and the overflowing architectural intelligence, the city is suffocating even to breathe. The temperature can be as high as 7 degrees Celsius in most urbanized and rural areas. Though Singapore is more urbanized and much more infrastructurally populated, the problem of climate change is not entirely solved. They created some sensible developments to bring down the temperature steadily. The government has taken drastic measures like Garden by the Bay, an award-winning park built on a 250-acre bay in Singapore. Within the park, they designed tree-like structures that have grown continuously. Among them is a greenhouse called Flower Dome, which has the shape of an oyster or dome. Inside the park, they achieved a pleasant temperature of 24 degrees Celsius. People come to the park, and they charge for a person. Once the tickets have been bought, the chilling, peaceful atmosphere can be enjoyed for a while. Behind the infrastructure is an underlying strategy, a district cooling system, in which the cold water or any other liquid is conveyed to the network of many buildings through underground pipes from a specific place in central management. Centrally, a plant cools the water, then piped to banks, residential towers, exhibition centers, shopping malls, and the city's iconic Marina Bay Sands hotel and casino complex. The district cooling system's advantage is that it saves 40% more electricity than conventional air conditioners. Since Singapore relies on natural gas as its source of energy production, saving electricity in this way is equivalent to removing 10,000 vehicles from city roads. For the rest of the world, this incident arouses fear. If all conditions are as they are now, by 2050, 1/3 of the total energy produced will have to be used only for cooling buildings and vehicles. Global warming increases from the radiation emitted from highly modernized cities. So, the need for more air conditioners and refrigerators will increase accordingly. The more people buy such household goods, the more energy they use. It will again lead back to the problem of the city becoming warmer. As a result, climate change will create more bad situations for the living environment. Since 2017, researchers have been developing various methods to reduce the need to create cooling air in the first place. These developed cities have one thing in common: to establish the need for trees so that they can reduce half of the work that must be done. Also, greening has a profoundly positive psychological effect on public life. The trees are the natural cooling system one can find on this planet. It can play a sustainable role in reducing the temperature of large shrubs on the surface. Fortunately, Singapore continuously strives to be a garden city. Lee Kuan Yew, the first dreamer of this idea in 1967, was the Prime Minister. He introduced this foresight to make people's lives more joyful and peaceful. And today, Singapore is one of the greenest cities in the world in terms of urban greening. A community center named Kampung has health facilities and social space. Surprisingly, it now offers more green space than ever before, compared to the time of its building with the same amount of land. Its roof is aesthetic, shaded by local vegetation. At the same time, it serves as a community park. And in the center, farm plots are arranged in rural greenery to take care of the residents. A hotel in a garden was built in Pickering, Park Royal. The roof is used to grow vegetables and used in the nearby surroundings. Because of this, the hotel's roof looks pleasing and beautiful. Also, it serves as a community park. And in the center, farm plots are arranged in rural greenery to take care of the residents. There are now 15,000 square meters of open gardens, pools, artificial waterfalls, planting steps, and green walls. The government has some plans to increase the green space by planting 1 million trees in the next 10 years. It is an initiative for the primary purpose of relieving the city from its heat island phase. On the other hand, this will allow city dwellers to become more involved with nature. Still, this won't be enough. The city is still heating twice the global average over the past 6 decades. That's why the Cooling Singapore project has created a list of all the effective ways to reduce the temperature. The city has to work intensely on its heat island phase to bring people some relief. The surroundings must be set in a way that helps the airflow circulate. The city also has a water depth in the reservoir to maintain the temperature balance. In the case of heavy buildings, such as skyscrapers, at least the exterior walls can be kept relatively light. Using these methods, there is an opportunity to prevent direct sunlight. In the medium to long term, combustion engines should keep aloof from inside the city. That means generating electricity outside the city. In the case of energy production, only renewable energy supply should be allowed inside. Energy use should be brought to the minimum possible in the city. Cooling Singapore is about designing a virtual model of a city with many different ideas. The purpose of the model is to calculate the design and its elements on the heat effect. After designing the scene, it has to verify that its usefulness will become final if the simulation works appropriately. Because, what could happen in reality, the situation can be easily guessed by examining it virtually. Once the simulations have the necessary solutions, later they can easily be turned into reality. This effort gives us a glimpse of the global good news. Similar methods are possible to model any city in the world. The model is not only helping to reduce the temperature but also tests how to maintain the temperature. Slow temperature changes may also improve the overall quality of life in temperate cities or moderate energy use in winter. So Singapore is ready to use this integrated science of technology, architecture, and urban planning, everywhere else. Singapore is one of the few cities in the world where the advancement of science has developed through the implementation of well-established urban redesign and concrete design. Singapore has achieved a lot in the past through good planning. Suppose this scientific path continues, contrary to the conventional notions that the city is mixed. In that case, we can expect Singapore to become a livable city in the future. All these tools and more will be needed to mitigate the effects of climate change on the city. Planting trees cannot hurt, and it is also conducive to the quality of life, said Vinod Thomas, visiting professor at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy in Singapore. But it is not enough by itself to reverse the city's warming. In your constant battle to handle the heat in Singapore, you must keep a stash of heat defense devices at the front door. We're talking hats for all family members, a pump pack of sunscreen, and mosquito repellent. And, of course, carry a giant bottle of water you can manage. The modern cities in the world have developed from the mistakes they made in the past. Their solution to a problem not only helps others, it can also educate the whole world. Are you interested in any other modern cities in the world? Tell us in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share. Also, subscribe to our channel for more.